Brodes Media.
So let's have some fun today. As for the next 30 minutes, once again, we'll break down this squad and this game that just occurred on Sunday because, well, there's no better football game in the history of the NFL. That was truly the greatest game of pigskin to ever be played. And I don't even think it's a debate. I don't want to hear it for 1 second that there's other epic games. No, there's not. There's not one better than that. There's not one where you saw a team so locked in, so prepared, executed so well. Even the plays that were fucked up resulted in touchdowns. When they scored because of A.J. Brown's tutty, the tight ends were lined up wrong. There's behind the scenes Mike stuff going on right now. You know, mic'd up behind the scenes. Not behind the scenes, it's in the game, but, you know, just a different view of it. And Jalen Hurts is going to the bench going, what? We lined up wrong. Tight ends are supposed to be on the right side of the formation. They're on the left side of the line. AJ's wide open. I mean, it doesn't get more beautiful than that. It's the best football game my eyes have ever seen. So let's talk more about it here with some lists, shall we? This show is going to be titled The Top 3 Lists Show. Very creative. Thank you. And it all started as I was preparing how I wanted to approach this with this clip from Fox Sports 1. Here's Emmanuel Acho ranking the credit that should go to the Philadelphia Eagles, who deserves the most credit, who deserves the second most credit, and then, of course, there is a third. Hence why, once again, this is called the Top 3 List Show. We'll react to his comments, and I'll share with you mine, and then we have some other things I want to get into. Here we go.
I'll list it out in 3 ways.
Oh, I like it.
Number 1, Vic Fangio.
Come on now.
Defensive coordinator. Number 2, Josh Sweat.
Oh.
And number 3, everybody else.
Oh, so you ranked them. Oh,
Yeah.
Vic
Fangio gets
Vic.
the most credit because
Okay.
Chase said something. You have to trust your players to make the plays, and he did. Rushing 4 men should not have worked because the Chiefs' offensive line has 5. By mathematical equations, Chiefs should win that. They did not. Why didn't they? Because Josh Sweat, I'll be honest, I bet the under on you getting tackles every game. This game, I didn't touch it because I saw you switched agents. You realize, hey, you're up for a contract. Josh Sweat led both teams in tackles to about 3 quarters with 6 of them. He finished with 2.5 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, plus 6 tackles. Then everybody else, it's the little things. You have cornerbacks getting reroutes, throwing off the timing of the Chiefs. You have zone coverage players with their eyes in the right spot. You have defensive tackles getting pushed in the right areas. You got players when they need a spying. Players when they need a hugging. I mean, what the Chiefs did, what the Eagles did defensively was beyond words and truly beyond comprehension to be able to do that play in and play out. I love that game. I love the defense. I give them the credit.
All right, so here's where I go with my list. And honestly, it's just whatever way you sort of digest the game. Like, I don't think you're crazy to think Vic Fangio is number 1 on the list, right? I don't think it's crazy to point out Josh Sweat. I don't think it's crazy to have any of these names in your top 3. But I go with Jalen Hurts at number 1 because let's be honest, what did Spags say? When Spags walked into that room and looked at his men and told him the game plan, it was what? We are going to force Jalen Hurts to beat us. Oh, he fucking beat you all right. That was a disgusting game of football by Jalen, and I'm saying that in a good way. It was outstanding. 70-plus rushing yards in the Super Bowl again. That throw to Jahan Dotson, realizing things pre-snap, moving around at the line of scrimmage and studying what the other team is electing to do, hitting A.J. Brown. That bomb to Devontae Smith was serious, and that was sort of the deal closer, right? That closed the deal, and that sealed it. And that was a big-time touchdown to blow out the Chiefs even more than they already were. This was huge. This was crucial from Jalen, and my man delivered big time. So when the other team's defensive coordinator went with the idea of, we are going to win because Jalen can't beat us, and then he balls out that efficiently and is that beautiful on the field, then I need to give my credit to number 1 as my number 1. They didn't think he could do it. they said do it over 4 quarters. He did it over 4 quarters. Actually, 3 and change, because it was so embarrassing for Kansas City that Kenny Pickett played and got snaps. So number 1 is my quarterback. He had one bad throw all day, which was the interception, and that was rough. Don't get me wrong. But other than that, sensational work from Jalen. Number 2, I'm going with Jalen Carter. And here's why. He was double teamed essentially half of his snaps. He played around 40 snaps, and for 19 of them, he was double teamed, and he created a couple of pressures, quarterback pressures, even with multiple bodies staring in his direction. But part of the reason why the other edge rushers, or edge rushers in general, he's a tackle, but you got my point. Other guys on the defensive line were able to have the success that they had is because of the focus on Jalen Carter. You cannot allow for him to have favorable matchups because he will blow it wide open as it is. So you got to take your chances that Josh Sweat won't eat, that Nolan Smith won't eat, that Milton Williams won't eat, which is funny because they will. The attention to Jalen Carter is what opens up the door for anybody else to flourish as insanely as they did. So I'm actually going with the big fella in the middle and saying Jalen Carter, number 98, is number 2 on the list. And then for number 3, it's another presence thing, right? Jalen Carter, it's about his presence. And I said this a little bit on yesterday's show, I believe it was, after taking one of the Anytime Hotline calls. And I really stressed what Saquon being out there even meant, because they sold out. They put all their bodies on number 26, which then allowed for others to have great games, and they need to execute when that's happening. And, Jalen, the reason why some of these plays are available is because all they did was attach their attention to Saquon and said he can't beat us. So the presence of Jalen Carter, the presence of Saquon Barkley is what set the tone for the game, and the entire game plan of the Chiefs was predicated essentially off of those 2 men. And Jalen made the most of it. Josh Sweat made the most of it. Nolan Smith, Milton Williams, all these guys made the most of it. Ojomo got in there. Jalix Hunt got in there. These guys balled out for sure. And Jalen's the quarterback who's touching the ball every time, and they dared him to beat him, and he did. So that's why he's number 1 on my list, because they thought he couldn't, and he stepped up big time. And they said, you are only going to win if Jalen beats us. And he did. So that's why he's number 1. But this all starts because the Chiefs clearly put a major emphasis on number 98 and number 26, and both of their presence seriously dictated the style of game this was going to be. You always have to be aware. So whether they lit the scoreboard up or not, or the box score up from an individual numbers or not, which clearly there were other sexy numbers on the box score, you're able to do what you do because of them just being there. And I can't lose sight of that. Jalen knows it too. Here's Jalen Hurts on the sidelines talking to Saquon Barkley when they understood, we're Super Bowl champions.
Jalen Hurts gonna smile now.
When that hit 0-0, hey man, that's you. That's you. Come on. That's you.
All of us, man.
I know it's all of us, but you don't understand the difference you made. We right there, but you like that last piece, man.
It's the truth. It is the truth. I'll talk about Jalen Hurts until I die. I'll give Jalen Hurts all the love in the world until I'm no longer breathing. That dude deserves an insane amount of credit, and I'm going to give him that credit all throughout the offseason for the rest of my life, because we have an elite quarterback in his own way. It doesn't compare to anybody else's elite style. It's a Jalen Hurts elite presence. All I care about. It doesn't matter how that matches up with how somebody else does it. It works for him. It works for this franchise. It works for this team, this core, this general manager who we all claim what? is one of the best to ever do it. He's one of the smartest GMs in not just the NFL, but in all of sports. He is that savvy. Well, if he's that talented and knows what he's doing with personnel and understands talent evaluation and knows what to do to construct something beautiful that can win titles, he believes in Jalen. I'll trust his, I don't want to say diagnosis, but, diagnosis of the skill here and of the talent. You see what Jalen's able to do. The smartest general manager in sports knows we can lock him up. We can win football games with him. We can win Super Bowls with him. He reminds me of a prime Russell Wilson. Not this crap Russell Wilson, the good Russell Wilson. They were obsessed because they missed out on that Russell Wilson. They said, we can't allow for that to happen again. Now we're winning Super Bowls. Now we're in our second Super Bowl in 3 years. And now we have another title next to our name. Come on, man. So I'll always appreciate what Jalen Hurts provides because he is elite. The attention that the other team has to apply to someone as talented as Saquon Barkley, it's unprecedented. It really is to that level. We heard all these comments about how, the Chiefs had to line up against a really great back before in the San Francisco 49ers when they had Christian McCaffrey. They did just fine. It's not the same. It's not the same. Christian McCaffrey's really, really, really good. It's not the same. Saquon Barkley, again, similar to the Jalen Hurts unique style thing, Saquon's home run hit ability, traditional running, this offensive line. I feel with Christian McCaffrey, a lot of that is the appeal of Kyle Shanahan and the offense and the pre-snap movement and the creativity and the route running and all that stuff that is applied to him and the way they use him and his usage right there. It's not really the same as what Saquon accomplished here. And knowing if you do not slow him down, you have a 0% chance of winning, you have to go all out.